You've read Genesis 100 times, maybe 1,000, but you've never actually read it, because the English translation strips away layers of meaning that have been hiding in the original Hebrew for over 3,000 years. 7 Hebrew words that contain the entire story of God. That's not an exaggeration. Ancient rabbis spent their entire lives studying just this one verse, and what they found shook them to their core. The word for God is plural. The verb for creation means something no other Hebrew word means, and buried inside the individual letters, letter by letter, is a message so precise, so intentional, that it will change how you see every page of scripture that follows. 7 words, 1 verse. Today we are going to break open Genesis 1 in the original Hebrew, word by word, letter by letter. And by the end, you will never read this verse the same way again. Before we go anywhere else, we need to start where God started, the very first word of the Bible. In English, we read in the beginning 3 words, simple enough, but in Hebrew, it is 1 word, Bereshit, and this single word carries an ocean of meaning that English cannot hold. Bereshit is built from the root word reshit, which means first, chief, the best, the beginning point of everything that follows. But here is where it gets fascinating. The prefix be does not just mean in. It can also mean for the sake of or by means of. So Bereshit does not simply say in the beginning. It whispers for the sake of the first, for the sake of the chief. The Torah begins with Bereshit because the world was created for the sake of the reshit. And what is the reshit? Proverbs 8 tells us that wisdom was the reshit, the first thing God brought forth before anything else existed. Wisdom was there before the foundations of the world. The very first word of the Bible is already pointing to something beyond a simple timeline. It is pointing to a person. But what comes next takes this even deeper. The second word in Genesis 1 is bara. And this word is unlike any other verb in the Hebrew language. Bara means absolute creation. There are multiple Hebrew words for making things. Asa means to fashion or to form something from existing materials, like a potter shaping clay. Yatsar means to mold, to craft with intention. But bara is reserved exclusively for God. No human being is ever the subject of bara in the entire Old Testament, because bara means to create something from absolutely nothing. No raw materials. No pre-existing substance, no starting point. Pure will becoming matter, energy, time, and space. This is not renovation. This is not rearrangement. This is the birth of existence itself from the voice of the one who needs nothing to make everything. If this truth from Scripture is opening your eyes, hit like and subscribe for more biblical wisdom that transforms, because what comes next might fundamentally change how you understand who God is. The third word of this verse contains one of the most debated mysteries in all of theology. Here is where Genesis 1 drops a theological bombshell that most people walk right past. The third word is Elohim, and Elohim is plural. Plural. In Hebrew, the suffix im makes a word plural. 1 angel is malak. Many angels are malakim. 1 God is Elo. But the God who creates everything from nothing is called Elohim, gods, plural, yet the verb bara, created, is singular. A plural noun with a singular verb. This breaks every rule of Hebrew grammar, and it does it on purpose. Hear, O Israel, the Lord our Elohim, the Lord is Etchad. The word Etchad does not mean a solitary one, it means a compound unity. The same word is used in Genesis 2 when man and woman become one, Etchad, flesh. 2 becoming one, a plural God acting as a singular being. The very grammar of creation hints at a divine mystery, a God who is somehow more than one and yet perfectly, indivisibly one. Elohim, Etchad, unity. And this is only the third word. But what comes next is something most Bibles never even translate. Now we arrive at the fourth word of Genesis 1. And here is the shocking part. It is completely invisible in your English Bible. The word is et, spelled with 2 Hebrew letters, aleph and tav, a word that exists in Hebrew, but has no English translation. Et is an untranslatable grammatical marker. It points to the direct object of a sentence, so most translators just skip it. But the ancient rabbis never skipped it, they obsessed over it, because aleph is the first letter of the Hebrew alphabet, and tav is the last. The first and the last. I am the Alpha and the Omega, the beginning and the end. In Revelation 22, Jesus declares himself the Alpha and Omega, the first and last letters of the Greek alphabet. But in Hebrew, he would have said, I am the Aleph and the Tav, the Et, the untranslatable Et in Genesis 1. 1 is the hidden signature of the Messiah. The word that translators left out might be the most important word in the entire verse. And this mystery only deepens when we look at what surrounds it. The verse continues with Hashemayim Veit Haaretz, the heavens and the earth. But once again, the Hebrew reveals what English conceals. The word Shamayim, heavens, is itself a compound. Sham means there, beyond, unreachable. Mayim means waters. Heavens equals waters beyond. The heavens are the waters beyond. And this connects directly to Genesis 1:2, where the Spirit of God hovers over the face of the deep, the Tehem, the primordial waters. But notice something extraordinary about the structure. Et appears twice in this verse, once before the heavens and once before the earth. The Aleph Dav, the first and the last, stands between God and creation, the mediator between the Creator and everything he made. It is as if the text is saying, Elohim, through the Aleph Dav, created the heavens, and through the Aleph Dav created the earth. All things were made through him, and without him nothing was made. John 1:3 echoes exactly what Genesis 1:1 encrypted thousands of years earlier. But this is still only the surface. The letters themselves hold a deeper code. Step back and look at Genesis 1:1 as a whole. Count the words. Seven Hebrew words. Bereshit bara Elohim et Hashemayim Veit Haaretz. 7 is the number of divine completion throughout Scripture. God rests on the seventh day. There are 7 churches in Revelation, 7 seals, 7 trumpets. And the very first sentence God ever spoke into existence contains exactly 7 words. But the mathematics go further. 1, 7 words total in the verse. 2, 28 letters, which is 7 times 4. 3, the middle word is Et, the Aleph Dav. 4, the first 3 words contain 14 letters, 7 times 2. 5, the last 4 words contain 14 letters, 7 times 2. The precision is staggering. This is not random. This is architecture, divine mathematical precision. The verse is built on sevens the way a cathedral is built on foundations. And at the exact center of this mathematical structure sits the untranslatable Et, the Aleph and Tav, the first and the last, right at the heart of creation. God encoded perfection into the very structure of his first sentence. And yet there is still more hidden inside these letters. Now here is where Genesis 1:1 gets truly breathtaking. Before Hebrew became the block script we know today, it was written in pictographic form. Each letter was a picture, and each picture had a meaning. The original Hebrew was not just an alphabet, it was a language of images. Let us start with the very first word, Bereshit. It is spelled Bet Resh Aleph Shin Yod Tav. In the ancient pictographs, Bet is a house or tent, Resh is a head, the first person. Aleph is an ox representing strength or God. Shin is teeth, meaning to consume or destroy. Yod is a hand, meaning work or deed. Tav is a cross, a mark, a covenant sign. The Son of God destroyed by his own hand on a cross. Read the pictographs in sequence and they spell out a sentence. The Son of God destroyed by his own hand on a cross. The first word of the Bible, written thousands of years before Calvary, contains the gospel in its very letters. The prophets searched intently to find out the time and circumstances of the things the Spirit of Christ foretold. And this is not the only word that carries this secret. Let us look at the hidden Et again, Aleph and Tav. In the ancient pictographs, Aleph is an ox head representing strength, leadership, and God himself. Tav is a cross, 2 sticks crossed together, a mark, a sign, a covenant seal. Aleph God, Tav cross. So when Jesus says in Revelation, I am the Aleph and the Tav, he is not merely saying I am the first and the last. He is saying I am the strong one of the cross. I am God nailed to the covenant mark. And this Et, this untranslatable, invisible word, appears over 7,000 times in the Old Testament. 7,000 hidden signatures of the Messiah scattered across Scripture. Every time the Hebrew text points to a direct object, the Aleph Dav is there. Silently, invisibly in English, but blazing like fire in Hebrew. He was there all along, hidden in plain sight. The translators could not translate it because it has no English equivalent. But now you know what it means. God placed his son's signature in the DNA of the Hebrew language itself. But there is one final revelation that ties everything together. Now let us do something extraordinary. Let us take every word of Genesis 1 and read the pictographic meaning of each root. Bereshit, the Son of God destroyed by his own hand on a cross. Bara, created, brought into existence from nothing. Elohim, the mighty ones, plural in unity. Et, the strong one of the cross. Hashemein, the waters above the heavenly realm. Ved, and the strong one of the cross. Haaretz, the earth, the land, the ground where humanity dwells. The Son of God would be destroyed on a cross. God himself, creating a covenant between heaven and earth. Do you see it? The entire plan of redemption compressed into 7 words. Written before Abraham, before Moses, before David, before any prophet ever spoke. Encoded, before the fall even happened. God had already written the rescue into the first sentence of the story. The Lamb was slain from the foundation of the world. Written before the fall. This was never an afterthought. This was the plan from the very first breath of Scripture. And that brings us to what this means for you right now, today. Think about what we have just uncovered. 1 verse, 7 words, 28 letters. And inside those letters, hidden from English readers for centuries, is the full arc of God's redemptive plan. A plural God acting in singular unity. A creation from absolute nothing by sheer divine will. An untranslatable signature of the Messiah embedded into the grammar itself. And a pictographic code that spells out the gospel before history even begins. Genesis 1:1 is not just the beginning of the Bible, it is the Bible in miniature. Every doctrine, every promise, every covenant that unfolds across the next 65 books is already seeded right here, in the very first line. For by him all things were created, things in heaven and on earth, visible and invisible. This is why the Hebrew matters, not for academic pride, not for theological debate, but because when you see what God hid in the original language, you realize that nothing in Scripture is accidental. Every letter is intentional. Every word is alive. If you made it this far, comment Bereshit to show you received this truth. Every letter is alive. Stay in the Word, stay in the Spirit, and watch what God does.